After calculating the GDP with given approach, we would move on to the second exercise of this assignment, which is the circular flow diagram. The question here is draw a circular flow diagram which shows the economic link between households, firms, and the government. For this, you need to make use of the values that you have got in the exercise 1.1. However, here there are also some additional information given for the question, and the household in our case would have to pay 20% of taxes from income, and the household consumes 90% of their disposable income. There are no depreciations, indirect taxes, and subsidies. How do we draw the circular flow diagram here? Before we move on to the circular flow diagram, we need to make some pre-calculations for the items that we want to use later on in our diagram. We have already seen that GDP, the total production in the country, is 500 euros. So the total income is 500 euros. The second one is taxes. We have already said that 20% of the income should be paid as a tax. So we take 20% of the total income, which is 500 euro, 0.2 multiplied by 500, giving us a value of 100 euros as taxes. The third item is disposable income. Disposable income is an income after tax which consumers are willing to consume or save. So if you have certain amount of income, you pay taxes, and then the rest is for you to consume or to save it. So this is to say the disposable income is defined as income minus taxes. Why this represents the disposable income, and it can be calculated as income minus taxes. We had an income of 500 minus 100 for taxes, which would give us 400 euros as disposable income. The next item is consumption. We have already said that 90% of the disposable income is to be consumed by the consumers. So we have a disposable income of 400 euros. When we take 90% of the 400 euros, we get 360 euros, which is an income ready for the consumer to be consumed. So if we say there were a disposable income of 400 euros and the consumer is willing to consume 360 euros, what would the consumer do with the remaining 40 euros? This is why we say the consumer would then save the remaining amount of its disposable income as savings. So the disposable income minus consumption, disposable income is 400 minus 360 euros of consumption would give us 40 euros, which would be considered as savings. The final item is the budget deficit. We have said that government collects taxes from the households, which is a value of 100 euros. But then the government buys cars for a value of 140 euros. So what the government pays is the government expenditure, and what the government gets or collects is tax. The difference between the two is the budget deficit. So government expenditure minus tax is the budget deficit. In our case, government is spending 140 euros to buy cars, but it is collecting only 100 euros in the form of taxes. So the 40 euros here staying at the end is to be considered as the budget deficit. With this information, we would be able to draw the circular flow diagram, which shows the relationship between all the parties involved here. As we have seen in our setup, we have households first, and we have mentioned that there are 3 industries which we consider as corporations, and there is also a government. So we have said total income is 500 euros. So the total income is the amount going from the corporations to the households. So we can indicate it with an arrow by saying y is equal to 500 euros, which is moving from the corporations to the households. And we have said the households buy cars from the cars industry for a value of 360 euros. This is to say the households, they consume cars, and it should be indicated as consumption for a value of 360 euros. We have said that households pay an income tax of 100 euros to the government, so they pay 100 euros to the government in the form of tax, which would take us from household to the government with an arrow, and it can be indicated as tax is equal to 100 euros. We have again said governments buy cars from the corporation, or from the car industry to be exact, for a value of 140 euro, which is indicated as government expenditure. We have pretty much covered the first 4 items in our table, but then we still have savings because households are saving 40 euros and they need a financial institute to save their savings. For financial institutes, we would then write here financial sector, where the households are saving their 40 euros which remained from their disposable income. We have also mentioned that there is a budget deficit of 40 euros, while the government is spending 140 euros, but they are collecting only 100 euros in the form of tax, so they need to finance the remaining 40 euros from the financial sector, and they need to sell bonds to the financial sector. So when the government sells bonds to the financial sector for a value of 40 euros, they have 100 euros in the form of tax, 40 euros when they sell bonds to the financial sector, giving us a total value of 140 euros, which would be spent to buy cars from the corporation. So the financial sector, in the form of bonds, would transfer an amount of 40 euros to the government, which is the budget deficit. Finally, we have said there is no investment in the economy, but if there was any investment is coming from the financial sector to the corporations, where they borrow money from the financial sector. But we would indicate it as I is equal to 0 as investment. So this gives us an overview of what the circular flow diagram would look like in a given economy with the given conditions.